Foreign Minister Marise Payne has held a series of diplomatic discussions with her US counterpart Antony Blinken in Washington. The pair discussed the Australian-US alliance, COVID-19 recovery and China. They held a press conference a short time ago.
Together with our partners, including through groups such as the Quad, Australia and the United States can demonstrate that democracy delivers. Transparency and accountability matter. Indeed, lives and livelihoods depend on it, whether through rigorous approval of new COVID-19 vaccines, and the report this week from the Independent Panel for Pandemic Preparedness and Response, or an empowered and reformed World Trade Organisation that can distinguish between legitimate quarantine and customs concerns and thinly veiled economic coercion, and take swift action accordingly. In our meeting today, we have, of course, discussed our relationships with China. And Australia seeks a constructive relationship with China. We stand ready at any time, amongst all of my counterparts and colleagues, to resume dialogue. But we have also been open and clear and consistent about the fact that we are dealing with a number of challenges. We welcome the clear expressions of support from Washington as Australia works through those differences. It is hard to think of a truer expression of friendship. I hope that the support Australia has received from the United States gives confidence to others. It doesn't matter where challenges to your sovereignty come from. All countries should know that there is a global community that can support one another in this most basic expectation of nationhood. As with the freedom of individuals, so with the sovereignty of states. Australia and the United States and the alliance that binds us are a bedrock for these shared values. Thank you again, Secretary Blinken, for these talks that will take our alliance forward at this critical time for our region and for the world. You are right, in-person talks make a significant difference. They are a real value add in the times of COVID-19 as well. I look forward to comparing pool notes with you over Tokyo 2021 and perhaps a bit of a discussion about how some of our football teams go on the field as well.
And that press conference is still going. This is the Secretary of State speaking now. This is live in Washington, D.C. Let's listen in.
Support an ongoing investigation to get to the bottom of what happened with COVID-19. And look, this is so important because we need to understand what happened if we are going to have the best possible opportunity to prevent it from happening again, and to make sure we can put in place an even stronger global health security system to make sure that we can prevent, detect, mitigate future pandemics. And that has to start with understanding exactly what happened. And look, the issue is less about assigning blame and more about understanding what happened so that we can take effective action for the future. There needs to be accountability, but there needs especially to be understanding. And we do know that in the early days of the pandemic, there was a failure on the part of the PRC to allow timely access to international experts, timely sharing of information, real transparency when it mattered most. And those have to be features of the system going forward. And all countries have a responsibility to sign on to them. So we need to see more to get to a real understanding of what happened. And then together, including with China, we need to take actions to strengthen the international system to make sure that all of our people are better protected so that if there is a next time, it's not like this time.
Thanks. And I think there are two points that are part of your question. First of all, there is the WHO-convened global study into the origins of SARS-CoV-2, as it was entitled, which was the report that was released on the 31st of March. I think that our response then was to say we certainly appreciated the efforts of the scientific experts who participated in leading that work in very difficult circumstances, including an Australian expert, Professor Dominic Dwyer. But we are concerned that that mission itself was significantly delayed and lacked access to both complete and original data and samples. And we at the time joined a statement with a number of other concerned countries, including the United States, in expressing those concerns about those delays. That is unchanged, and in fact it reinforces the importance of Australia's suggestion in April last year that there should be an independent international objective review into COVID-19, its origins and its impact. Secondly, though, the release of the Independent Panel on Pandemic Preparedness and Response report, which was led by former New Zealand Prime Minister Helen Clark and former President of Liberia, Ellen Sirleaf-Johnson, we welcome that very comprehensive report. I met with Helen Clark in New Zealand just 3 or so weeks ago, perhaps a month ago now, and again, that its frank assessment of the global community's preparedness, the management of the pandemic, as well as the recommendations that it contains for action, we absolutely support those being taken very seriously. There's a number of recommendations, including in relation to the international health regulatory structure, as Tony referred to, recommendations around strengthening the independence and the authority of the WHO. Interestingly, also observations about the fact that the WHO was underpowered in terms of its ability to do the job expected of it, including the recommendations about increasing the independence and authority of the WHO so that they have explicit powers to investigate pathogens with pandemic potential and to publish information about those potential outbreaks with immediate action without prior approval of national governments. There was some discussion at some stage last year about what inspection and report powers WHO should have, and I think that finding by the independent panel is a very important one in terms of the way forward for ensuring that we avoid the experience that the world, this country, our country, so many countries have had to deal with in recent times, and the extraordinary loss of life that it has caused.